My name is Justice Lane, and I am 32 years old. Today, I stood in my corner office, its tall windows pouring golden light over polished floors and shelves lined with awards. My parents stood there too, but not with pride. Their faces had gone pale as they looked at the evidence of my success, the very life they told me I would never build. These were the same parents who once laughed when I asked for help with homework, who mocked my college dreams with cruel certainty. "You'll never make it without us." For years, their ridicule followed me like a shadow, shaping me, haunting me. But in that moment, as they stammered out awkward apologies, I realized something monumental. I had built this life without them. Everything they denied me, I had learned to give myself. And before I share the story, let me ask you, have you ever had to prove someone wrong? If so, you'll understand what follows. I grew up in the manicured suburbs of Boston, in a 2-story colonial house with its carefully trimmed lawn and my father's luxury sedan parked in the driveway. From the outside, everything looked perfect, an image my parents worked tirelessly to maintain. My father, Thomas Lane, was a cutthroat corporate attorney, admired and feared in equal measure. My mother, Diane, managed operations at Massachusetts General Hospital, always dressed in pressed suits and polished shoes. To neighbors and colleagues, they were a power couple, the epitome of success. And me, I was their only child, their Justice, a name my father insisted on because he said it commanded respect, the kind of name he imagined echoing in courtrooms. But from my earliest memories, I knew I was different from what they had planned. They processed the world through logic, strategy, and competition. I saw it through emotion, creativity, and connection. That difference became the root of years of misunderstanding and pain. The first time I felt the sting of it was in 2nd grade, when multiplication tables became my nightmare. Numbers danced on the page, refusing to make sense. One evening, clutching my workbook to my chest, I gathered the courage to step into my father's office. He was bent over his legal briefs, glasses sliding down his nose. "Dad," I said quietly, "can you help me with multiplication? I don't understand it." He looked up, irritation flashing, then shifted into something colder, amusement. He laughed, not the warm laugh of a father, but sharp, dismissive. "If you can't figure out simple multiplication, Justice, you'll never survive in the real world. Figure it out yourself." My mother appeared in the doorway with a coffee mug. She nodded in agreement, saying, "Your father's right. Independence matters." I walked back to my room that night confused, my little hands trembling as I held the workbook. At 8 years old, I couldn't understand the difference between teaching independence and abandoning a child. That night I sat at my desk until midnight, tears sliding silently down my cheeks, whispering multiplication facts into the air until my voice cracked. I learned my first coping mechanism that night. Hide the struggle, pretend to understand, figure it out alone, no matter the cost. The only time my parents showed warmth was when I succeeded without help. When I was 10, I built a science fair project about ecosystems that won first place. In the car ride home, my father glanced at me through the rearview mirror. "See, you don't need help when you actually try." My mother patted my knee. "We always knew you could do it." It was supposed to be praise, but it landed like a reminder. Succeed alone, or be mocked for asking. For my 11th birthday, they gave me a desk. My father positioned it against the wall. "This way you won't be distracted," he explained. It became my lonely island. I taught myself algebra, history, geography, all while listening for footsteps in the hallway, terrified of being caught not knowing something. If my mother checked my work and found mistakes, she would sigh, "Justice, other children don't need this much oversight." By the end of elementary school, I had built an entire survival system, researching lessons ahead of time, sneaking questions to teachers before class, and eating lunch in the library instead of the playground. My childhood became a fortress of self-sufficiency, carefully built to protect me from ridicule. I'll never forget overhearing my father at a neighborhood barbecue when I was 12. He stood on the deck, drink in hand, telling our neighbor, a Boston University professor, "The key to raising a successful child is teaching them the world won't hold their hand. Justice knows asking for help is the last resort. She's better for it." As I carried a tray of food past them, the neighbor smiled kindly and said, "Your parents are very proud of how independent you are." I smiled back, but inside I was screaming. I wasn't independent. I was abandoned in plain sight. By middle school, the pressure only grew worse. Algebra baffled me, and after a failing quiz, I dared once more to approach my father. "Dad, can you help me with this equation?" He swiveled in his leather chair, annoyance etched on his face. "Figure it out or fail. Those are your options. Do you think the world will give you lifelines?" My mother echoed from the doorway, "Justice, you're too dependent. Other kids don't need this much hand-holding." Shame burned my cheeks as I retreated, staying up until 3 a.m. watching grainy online videos at low volume, teaching myself formulas. When I passed the next quiz, it wasn't because I understood. It was because I had memorized patterns. Social life wasn't easier. While other kids formed friendships, I hovered at the edges, terrified of saying something wrong. At 14, an English assignment asked us to keep journals. For the first time, words became my refuge. I poured myself onto the page, crafting stories of young heroes who found mentors that guided them patiently. My teacher, Mrs. Bennett, noticed. She scribbled encouraging notes in the margins. "You have a gift, Justice. Don't stop writing." Excited, I told my parents about a summer journalism camp at Northwestern. I printed the brochure and slid it across the dinner table. "Mrs. Bennett thinks I have potential. This camp could really help." My father snorted, barely looking. "Journalism? That's a dying field. If you can't write on your own, no camp will save you." My mother frowned at the cost. "Justice, this is ridiculous. If you want to write, just write." Their dismissal crushed me, but still I tried again weeks later, handing them a short story I had written. My father skimmed it and muttered, derivative, "Read real authors if you want to improve." My mother set it down. "Grammar is fine, but it lacks substance. Is this how you're wasting your time?" I forced a smile, whispering, "It's just for fun." Inside, my heart cracked. High school came with sharper edges. I begged my mother for advice before my first party. What should I wear? How should I act? She waved me off. "Just be yourself. If you need coaching for a party, maybe you shouldn't go." I went in an outfit I guessed was right, and ended up standing awkwardly in corners all night. Monday morning, pictures of me looking out of place circulated in group chats with mocking captions. When my mother found me crying later, she sighed. "If you were smarter about people, this wouldn't happen. Toughen up, Justice." Sophomore year, I made my first real friend, Amanda, a book lover like me. For 6 months, we were inseparable until I confided in her about my parents. Weeks later, I found out she had told the whole class I was too intense, too desperate. The betrayal gutted me. When my parents saw me sobbing, my father leaned on the doorframe. "This is what happens when you overshare. You invite drama." My mother nodded. "Honestly, Justice, other girls don't fall apart over this." Their words buried me deeper in silence. By senior year, I had vowed never to ask them for help again. I crafted essays alone, researched scholarships alone, and filled out applications at my desk while my peers sat with parents reviewing drafts. When I asked my father about application fees, he slid his credit card across the table. "Apply wherever you want. But remember, we're not paying for a degree that won't earn its keep." His meaning was clear. Education was an investment, not self-discovery. I applied anyway. Northwestern accepted me with a half-tuition scholarship. My parents barely reacted. "Don't get excited," my father said. "Most freshmen drop out. You'll probably be home by Christmas." My mother added, "It's expensive, even with the scholarship. Is this practical?" But I signed the papers myself. I worked 2 jobs that summer, saving every dollar, while my parents bought the bare minimum of supplies. Move-in day came, and they dropped me at the curb with 2 suitcases. "This was your choice," my mother said, not leaving the car. "So make it work." I stood alone among families, building dorm furniture and taking photos. My roommate Zara arrived with her parents and sister, filling the room with laughter and extra boxes. Her family even offered to help me unpack. I declined politely, embarrassed by how little I had. Over the weeks that followed, Zara taught me things I had never learned: how to do laundry, how to set up a bank account. Each lesson was simple, but it was kindness I had never known. Then came my first crisis. The night before my journalism ethics paper was due, my laptop died, completely black screen. All my work was trapped inside. In panic, I did the thing I swore I wouldn't. I called home. Dad, my laptop's dead. I need help. Can you send money? Or help me find one fast? He laughed down the line. Already failing, just like we predicted. Maybe this will teach you responsibility. My voice shook. I'm not failing. I just need help. His reply was ice. Figure it out yourself. This is why we said college wasn't for you. I hung up, collapsing in the stairwell with a panic attack. That's when Zara found me. Justice, are you okay? She asked softly. Through tears, I explained. Without hesitation, she said, use my laptop tonight. My brother works at a tech store. He can check yours tomorrow. I stared, shocked. Why would you do that? She smiled. Because that's what friends do. They help each other. It was the first time I realized something life-altering. My parents would never be my support system. But others could. Zara, professors, mentors, they could. That week, I began therapy on campus. Dr. Morgan, my counselor, listened as I described my childhood. When I insisted, they just had high expectations. She shook her head gently. Justice, what you're describing is emotional neglect. Sometimes abuse isn't bruises, it's the absence of care. Her words rattled me, but slowly I began to see the truth. I built a new system, an inventory of support. I listed Zara, Dr. Morgan, and Miss Rodriguez, my old teacher who once believed in me. I wrote goals, internships, workshops, scholarships, minimal contact with parents. For the first time, I felt in control. Years passed, and I transformed. From that terrified freshman, I became a features editor at the school newspaper, winning awards for investigative journalism. I found confidence, friendships, mentors. I learned asking for help wasn't weakness, it was strength. And now, at 32, standing in my office with my parents staring at the life they said I couldn't build, I finally understood. I had proven them wrong, not with anger, not with revenge, but with persistence, healing, and truth.